No, you don't have to give away anything tonight. No, don't worry about that. Okay. Do you see Terry's picture on the monitor? Did you see it there? Okay. Yeah. Then we'll have him on, and we're going to do this show, and we'll be ready to go. But you're free to go tonight. Okay. All right. No, there's nothing else. That's it for now. All right. I'm going to start the show, and just stay there and let me know what you see just for a minute or so into the show. All right. Okay. I love you too.
Hello, this is Donnie Hanson. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A and
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Abadi, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We have a special show. I had a pretty good opportunity to sit down with Terry Good and discuss what we would do and how we would talk about it. We did that, and well, you're going to see the results of some of the things we talked about in just a bit. We'll have Terry Good here in the studio. In the meantime, I want to thank our sponsors who help make the show possible: Racer X, the International Motocross Museum, Motion Pro, SoCal Mako, Arma, Preston Petty Products, Full Circle Racing, and of course, AMSOIL. We have to say goodbye to Motion Pro at the end of December. One of our longest running sponsors, over 5 years now, but times change and things sort of take their course. I want to thank Chris Carter and Motion Pro. But in the meantime, you still get 20% off across at Motion Pro when you use MP9135 upon checkout, okay? In the meantime, if you want to become a sponsor of Vintage Motocross Q&A, just one low price, $249.95 per month, no contract, no commitment. You can go month to month. You can go 3 months at a time. I've even got a program where you could pay every 3 months if you'd like to do that. I wouldn't mind that at all. Okay. So get a hold of me and we'll put something together for you. In the meantime, if you want to be a show supporter for just $49.95 a month, you can do that. You can get your name up on the board just like you see here. Carl Word and John Caccaval and so many other wonderful people who have helped us out over the years being a show supporter with the show. Keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. But as I mentioned, oh, you know what else I want to mention to you too? I got this in the mail this week from Paul Stainer from Preston Petty. Check this out. Now, I know what you're saying, Joe, it's a number plate, but look at this. You see these? These stick out a little bit further than the old style number plate brackets. A little bit further, gives you a little more room back there to put your cables. Keeps it off the forks a little bit. That makes a difference on a lot of different bikes. So it comes just like that. It's good for 35 and 36 millimeter forks. It comes with these two beautiful O-rings. So you can attach that right to your fork, pop it on there, 5-minute process. Okay. Paul Stainard, Preston Petty Products. The molds are home in America. You're going to be seeing a lot more from Preston Petty Products. Okay. And as I mentioned a moment ago, my guest tonight is Terry Good, and we are going to be discussing a very historic bike, the 1976 Yamaha OW27 that Bob Hannah rode in his novice professional career. That's why those black plates were on that bike. I was doing some research, and we're probably going to talk about that and a few other things. But without any further ado, I want to get Terry Good in here. Terry, thank you for joining me again on Vintage Motocross Q&A on this Wednesday night. And with a bike that, well, it's one of my favorite bikes in the IM. But first of all, thank you for being here.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure.
The 76 OW27 of Bob Hannah is our bike tonight that we're going to be discussing. Here's a fabulous picture of it right here. Certainly, as I said, one of my favorite bikes in the IMM collection, and a bike that had so much history behind it, from the water cooling being unique to Bob Hannah riding it in an incredible, his first season on the 125 on Yamaha, I think. And of course, dethroning the great Marty Smith that year, which everyone thought was impossible. Such unique parts on the bike. I think I'd like to take this in a direction of, well, number one, gas tanks are close to my heart. This bike has a gas tank that is very, very unique, not shaped like anything else. So where were those tanks made, and was there one person who made them?
They were made in Japan by the Yamaha Works race shop. So
Okay.
maybe they farmed it out to somebody, but those tanks, well, every single part on that bike, there would be a blueprint to it.
Oh, okay. Do you have any of that, Terry?
Not of the, I do, but not from this one.
Okay.
I've got them from earlier, but yes, I actually have a blueprint of the very first monoshock from Håkan Henderson's bike.
Ah.
Yeah, actual blueprint. But yeah, each one of these parts was designed by their engineers, and there were one-to-one scale drawings. And so with the radius, every little thing on that tank will be on a blueprint somewhere. It wasn't some guy just out in the shop beating a sheet metal.
Yeah. Yeah. I once read, and I don't ever give you gotcha questions. I ask a question if you know, and I'll tell you that I don't know, or however that works. Okay. But I thought I saw something one time where it said there was a gentleman named Vils, V-I-L-S, who made the tanks. Maybe I have it wrong.
No. He was a guy out of Long Beach that painted them specifically for Yamaha, and that went back into even before this, and then on up through 1980 and all that. Mike Vils is his name.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Terry, at one point I had a production YZ 125 1976 in my hand, and thanks to you, I had a cylinder and a clutch cover that are on this bike, the head cylinder and clutch cover.
That's right.
To my amazement, and you told me before you sold it to me, they're going to go right on the production cases, and they do.
Yeah, but you have to move the studs.
I have to move the stud. Yep.
Yeah. They actually, if you call that going right on the cases, but yeah, you have to relocate the studs.
And the clutch cover fit, and the crank fit, except it was, of course, modified to run a gear off of the water pump side of the bike.
That's right. They had a special crankshaft for this bike. I probably should have sent you a picture of it, but it's the whole end of it is different and all that, and that ran the impeller.
What I wanted to, I know what it was, Terry. This bike was debuted in the spring of '76, Bob Hannah at Hangtown. Before I get to that, if you know how far ahead was the factory in developing this bike before the spring of '76, and did anybody in America know what they would be getting at that time?
Okay, so the first water-cooled bikes did use some of the technology from the road racers were water-cooled first, and some of that technology they applied to this. It first started in 1975 in the All Japan Nationals, and it was also an OW27, and they had an air-cooled version and they had a water-cooled version. And so that was the first hint of it. We did know about that over here. I remember Cycle World, I believe it was Cycle World magazine, ran a little feature and one photo of it, and it had the radiator on the forks and, you know, all that. But that's where it first started. And so that it was successful. And
it's a pretty short period of time, really, when you think about it. If it was in 75 and it was ready to go in 76 for competition.
Yeah, and they kept developing it over that year. Now, as far as it coming to the United States, Team Yamaha, I believe one of your questions was did Yamaha International, that was what it was called back then,
right,
in Buena Park, California. So they would buy their bikes from Yamaha International in Japan. Mm-hmm. And a good friend of mine, Bill Butchka, was the mechanic for Bob Hannah. So I know a lot of this stuff firsthand from him. So they didn't get their bikes, these bikes here, until just before the Hangtown National, just a few weeks before.
Okay.
And Butchka told me that they went to, they did go out and test them and stuff like that. And I talked to Bob I actually talked to him yesterday a little bit about all this. And he was a little intimidated by it. You know, it was just stunning to, you know, the first time you see it, it changed the course of history. And, but they would go out to, I believe, Tehachapi Hills. They went out there, they went to Santa Maria, and tested it there. And I think they might have even gone to Carlsbad one time. So they went to different terrain tracks and try to set it up. And they used these shocks that have the thermostat in them and all that. Those were basically, the whole thing looks different there. And it's all aluminum, and it had two springs a spring inside of a spring.
Yes.
And so that was all different technology there. And that was developed in Europe in 75 mostly with Aki Johnson. And I have all of Aki's stuff too. And so I have the very first ones of that with his initials engraved in them and everything. But anyway, they went out to test, and they relied on a lot of, they got a lot of data from Europe.
Okay.
On how they set things up there. And Bill applied that to Bob's bike. And Bob will be the first to tell you, he goes, you know, I wasn't really that good of a development rider back then. He goes, I pretty much rode what you put under me.
Yeah.
So that's how that went.
Tell me this, Terry. We were talking a little bit before about how, and you explained this to me once too. A lot of people may be under the misconception that, we've got Tommy Croft and Marty Smith. We need two Hondas. Send us two Hondas. Doesn't work like that. You have to order American, Yamaha, or wherever Yamaha was in Buena. Was it Buena Park?
Yes.
They have to order a bike from Japan for their rider, and they have to actually pay for it, correct?
That's correct.
What do you think, or do you know what the price tag was on this bike back in 76?
Yeah, these were about $40,000 each. And just to put that in perspective, the price for the median price for a single family home in the United States was just over $40,000 in 1976. So this was like nuts.
And when they ordered these for America, I remember, of course, we all remember Bob Hannah riding one, but I think in that same year, largely overshadowed by Hannah's success, was Danny Turner had one as well. Were there any other 125 OW27s out there in the 76 season?
Not in the United States. It was just Bob Hannah and Danny Turner. And Danny Turner, you know, Bob was the underdog. He was the rookie. In fact, he told me, I don't know if it was yesterday, but he told me that he his salary was $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
When Pete Schick signed him, and he told me he thought he faked them out.
Yeah.
That he didn't deserve his ride, and he goes, "Man, did I pull the wool over these guys' eyes?" And we all know what happened. But he also told me, and Danny Turner, I believe you know him.
Yeah.
Bob told me that Danny Turner, he was the favorite. He was supposed to be the one that defeated Marty Smith. And the reason it was such a big deal at the time is the 125 class in the United States was just astronomical. I mean, they would have qualifiers at local races. There were so many people and entries and stuff. And so Honda had the lion's share of that. They owned the 125 class. And I remember in Cycle News, there was an article in there, and it had a picture of Marty Smith, and it said, "Shoot him down," or something like that. And so Suzuki and Yamaha made pointed efforts to take the crown away from him. And Suzuki's is another story, but this Yamaha one I know pretty well.
I remember that, and it was a picture of Marty with a target around it.
Yeah.
And it said, "Yamaha or Bob Hannah mission, shoot down Marty Smith."
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And they thought that Danny Turner would do it. And Bob told me that Danny didn't really like being a factory rider, that it was a lot of maybe unnecessary pressure, and they expected this and that. And he probably, because he was a phenomenal rider, and I think he got third overall in 1975 on the T&M.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
So Bob just, if you knew Hannah the way I knew it, he's just all out. And I knew it.
Well, Terry, didn't you race that year? Wasn't that one of your early professional years, 76?
Yeah, that was the year I did that series. I did not do Hangtown, but I did race that series, and I saw that bike every week. I mean, in fact, when you see, Bob was a Suzuki rider, right?
Yes.
And back then there wasn't the internet, and I didn't get Cycle News, so I would just get, dirt bike or motocross action. And so I didn't even know Bob Hannah was riding a Yamaha. And I was back in Michigan, and my friend Kim Blackseth, him and I were both CMC guys. And I went back to Michigan to work for my dad and buy a 125. And he was out in California working for his dad up north, and near where you live, actually. And then he was going to do Hangtown and then come back to Michigan. And a month later was the second race at Redbud. Well, he goes to Hangtown. He didn't know Bob was on a Yamaha either. He remembered him on Suzuki's in CMC races. So he goes to Hangtown. I mean, it was just, the shot heard round the world.
Oh, it had to be, the pits had to be buzzing with word about this bike, because there was never anything close to that before. Nothing
close. And and then Bob Hannah comes from dead last to win both motos, storming through the pack. And Blackseth called me up that night. I was living with my parents, and he called me up that night, and he was telling me about Hangtown. And so I'm listening, and God, this guy, he was so excited. He was older than me and more mature and all that, but he sounded like a 16-year-old kid, And the first thing he said out of his mouth, "Yeah, I just got back from Hangtown." And he goes, "You're not going to believe who won." And I said, "What, Marty Smith?" And he goes, "No, Bob Hannah." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "He's on a factory water-cooled Yamaha." I never even heard, you couldn't even believe it. And he goes, "That thing's got water pumps on it, and it is so trick." And he goes, I was standing on the side of the track, and he goes, that track was so rough. There were 3-foot whoops everywhere, tree roots sticking out, and he comes through there wide open, the bike swapping, and he just never let off the gas. And then he goes, and that was just practice. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks later, I couldn't stop thinking about it, and you couldn't take a picture and send it, So then Blackseth came back to Michigan. We lived in one of my dad's apartment units that he had, and he was telling me about this thing, and that's all I could think about for a month until Redbud.
Yeah.
And then we went there. And if you have a picture, do you have a picture of it in the pits at Redbud? I think I might have sent it to you.
Yeah, I do. Right here.
Yeah. When we went to Redbud, we're going up the hill there up the road. Yeah, there it is. That was the air at Redbud. And this is right after practice. And if you look at the top of the photograph there, that's my brand new 1976 orange Ford van.
Oh.
See that?
Oh, yeah, I see it back there next to the black one. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, that's it. And so also when we're going up the pit road there to get to the pits, I'm just looking for the Yamaha trucks, and I want to see this bike.
Oh, yeah.
I ran to the pits with my little Instamatic camera and shot a couple, but I was just so freaking blown away by this.
And this is one of those pictures.
This isn't. I actually bought this one on eBay. I have a couple too of it.
Okay.
But I sent you this. The reason I like this one is because my van's in it.
Okay. All right. Hey,
I was there.
Jerry, let's talk about some of the intricacies of this bike, why they're this way, and it's a rare opportunity. Number one, why are there black plates on this bike?
Well, okay, there were black plates and white plates.
Yep.
In the AMA 125 Nationals. And a black plate, if you were a white plate, you were a ranked pro from the year before.
Okay.
If you had that was called an expert pro. If you had a black plate like this, you were considered a novice pro.
Ah.
And so Bob did race a couple. I think he raced at New Orleans and maybe Houston in 1975. So he got somewhat ranked, but I think you have to be in the top 10 or something. And otherwise you get these black plates.
Okay. This plate right here, very cobby looking.
Yeah.
Metal, it looks like screen door screen. The numbers are certainly nothing you'd think of seeing on a works bike. They looked like they were painted on with a brush. And I'm sure there's a great story that goes along with that.
Oh, there is. Well, the number plate itself is a works Yamaha that came with the bike.
Okay.
So that's an official OW part. And the screen, it's really stiff. And then you can see that backing. That's like twisted metal for strength, and that goes across, and it's spot welded at each end. And then the little bracket there is pop riveted onto, is it cobby? Okay. Yeah. But it is a genuine works part. But now the painting,
Yeah.
Bill Butchka, Bob's mechanic, hand painted that. Yeah, there it is.
He hand painted that, I guess, because it was sent over with no number on it.
With no numbers. Yeah, they came over. Bob Hannah, this is according to Bill Butchka. Bob Hannah got 2 bikes, and Danny Turner got 2 bikes.
Any idea where the other 3 are?
Destroyed.
I'm sorry?
Destroyed.
Oh, destroyed. Okay. Something else unusual, you don't pick up on it until you actually see the bike in person, or you get a picture like this. This swing arm is a very unusual shape, nothing like anything, certainly nothing production. Tell us why the rectangular bar across the bottom and some of the other things that are going on here. Chromoly, obviously?
Yes, it's 100% chrome moly, whereas and the first year of this type of swing arm was in 75.
Okay.
OW bikes, had these, and how they differ from the prior ones where the horizontal tube is, yes, it's two rectangular box section things fused together in the center. Yeah, and
Okay.
that's chromoly, and it's very small tubing. It's much smaller than the round tubing, and then they use this round tubing, and that's the whole thing is extremely light. And the prior generation swing arm, it was round at the bottom. It had two halves of like flat stock metal kind of welded together, and they were made actually out of stainless steel and then welded to the chromoly part on the bottom.
Okay. I want to get into the cylinder and why it had fins. But before I do that, this picture right here looks extremely expensive and complicated to make this bike have a radiator on the front and the plumbing, the complication of that. Tell us about that, Terry, because and may I say this, even the production water-cooled bike of 81, there was nothing but problems with that bike. And 82 also, with rusting and the steel stem and seals leaking. But here we are, we got Bob Hannah with this aluminum set, and he's going to win a national championship without issue as far as the water cooling goes. Tell us about that.
This one here's there were two different versions of this in 76. This one is has a billet top, and then they had a cast top. Okay. And so what you see there, I guess the key points on this would be so the water goes in. I can't remember now. Let's say it goes in at the bottom.
It does go in at the bottom and then goes up through the top and drops down through the radiator.
Yeah, but it goes out of a hose. See that piece of stem that piece of aluminum in the middle of the stem with an O-ring on it?
Yeah, I see it clearly, sure.
That separates the intake fluid from the
okay.
See it?
Yep. No, I'm completely wrong. I'm thinking of a thermosiphon system, which is caveman stuff compared to this.
Yeah, it was pretty elaborate.
Yeah.
And there weren't too many. This cost a fortune to make this. And, production was, 5 years later or so. Mm-hmm. So, this was pretty elaborate. There was look at that thing. That thing is so trick looking.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. And it worked well too. And there were no problems with it. They did have one issue with them where Butchka told me there's a little screw on the side of the cylinder. And when you would change the fluid, let's say you were doing a top end on it, you're putting a brand new piston and rings or something. On the other side, do you have a left side of that? There it is. Okay, so now the clutch cable is partially hiding it.
Yep.
But you can see a little screw of 3 fins up from the bottom. And
behind the spring that's on the clutch cable.
Yeah, that there is, he would have to bleed the system. Mm-hmm. Otherwise it would lock up sometimes initially, So whenever he did a top end or changed fluid in the bike, and he ran 50-50, water to coolant. And so anyway, he would bleed it. And that cylinder there has, it's really cool because that cylinder has some writing on it that IDs it to Hannah, written with black magic marker way back. And that little screw there is safety wired to a little hole in the cylinder fin, and he was going to show me something. I said, no, we're not touching that safety wire. That's original from 76. So we left it alone. And yeah.
Another, well, doesn't seem like a very big question. I sort of understand it. It seems to me that it would only add to the cooling. But back then, you had water jackets inside there. Obviously, you're pumping water through the cylinder, but it also has fins.
Yeah, and everybody gets this part wrong. Oh, so it'll go a couple more laps, or, I mean, maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. I don't know if they ever checked it, but the reason those fins are there,
yeah,
and you can see that it comes out of the top of the cylinder head, right up in the front.
Yes, I can. Yeah,
yeah. So that whole thing, when this bike was first. When it debuted at Hangtown, there were stories in all the magazines. It was a tectonic plate shift. It was that big of a deal. It was people. If you lived back in those days, you understand what I'm talking about. But this bike was probably the biggest thing in American motocross, period. Even till now, I think it was that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And so there were all these speculations, Yamaha wasn't going to reveal secrets, or they just wanted to win. They wanted to dethrone Marty Smith. But guys, I remember one journalist wrote in some magazine, I'll remain quiet on who and where, but he wrote that the water cooling is for the crankcases only.
Yeah.
Because of the cylinder fins. I don't know how he didn't see the hoses coming out of the cylinder. But anyway, so there was all kinds of wild speculation. And one of the other speculative ideas is that those fins allowed if the hose ever came off it or anything like that, it could keep going. And that's not why they did that. The reason they added those fins was so they could go to as small of a radiator as possible for handling characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the reason. That is the official reason.
The Kickstarter on this bike is billet steel.
Yeah.
Is that something Bob wanted, or is that the way it came from Japan?
That's the way they came. And the first ones like that were either in 73 or 74. And I've got a 74 OW27 air-cooled bike, obviously. 125 works Yamaha. And it has a Kickstarter exactly like that.
Talk a little bit about the forks, Terry. KYBs? Factory KYB?
Factory KYBs.
All right. Internals, way different. I mean, you've probably, obviously, well, not obviously, but you had the bike apart, you did go through it, and I'm certain you had the forks apart when you did. And it's not your first set of Yamaha or KYB works forks that you'd ever taken apart. Similar to other works bikes forks, or something in there that looked a little different to you from your memory, do you know?
They were a little bit different. They were Yamaha specs, if I recall correctly, I believe. Some of the engineers that design these bikes, I'm still friends with, believe it or not. They're still alive, and I talk to them here and there. And so I ask them questions, and if they remember, they tell me. But yeah, these were made by KYB to Yamaha specs. Another interesting point about the shock.
Yeah.
I used to hang out with Brock Glover's dad used to drive the DG truck around, and Brock was riding, him and Mark Tyre and I forget who else. But he said, and so Brock's dad and I got to be pretty good friends. And he took me aside one day, and he would bring me DG stuff for my bike, my Yamaha. And he made it real fast. And so he said, come here, I want to show you something. So we walked over to the Yamaha pits, and right on the tailgate there of the box van was one of those shocks. And nobody was around. and Hannah's bike was sitting right in front of the van, and I don't know where everyone was, but no one was there, and there's the shock. And we step over the banners and go in there like, we're not supposed to be there, or I wasn't for sure.
Right.
And he picks up the shock and he hands it to me. And I was holding it and I was kind of looking around like, God, if anybody sees me, they're going to think I'm stealing it.
Yeah.
And so he goes, guess how much that shock costs? I said, I have no idea, and it was lightweight, and I saw the two springs and it just looked different. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
And he told me about the thermostat in it that adjusted for the, as the oil viscosity broke down, the damping and the shock adjusted to compensate for it. So the shock damping would remain the same, or that was the idea of it. And they did it through needle and a jet and things like that. But he goes, guess how much this thing costs? And I said, I have no idea. And he goes, $5,000. And I paid $900 for my YZ 120.
Yeah.
So I could have bought 5 bikes in parts for that shock. So it's pretty amazing.
The wheels, Terry, look incredibly stock.
No,
but they're not.
no.
That was where I was going to finish up. I think is the rear hub sandcast, I believe, or can you tell us about that?
It's sandcast magnesium. It's a different shape. It uses a production backing plate maybe, but the shape of the hub is completely different. So I can tell you a little bit more about this bike from this photo. So yeah, you're right about that. It's sandcast mag. Look at the way the engine is held into the frame. See those aluminum plates?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, see, whereas the YZX that I had, it was, there were brackets welded there in the frame and the engine sat in there. These were actually aluminum plates in there, and they could have potentially moved that engine around for different weight distribution.
Yeah, I could see clearly now where just under the number plate, there's a triangle plate there.
That's right. And at the bottom is there. And at the top, they use titanium bolts. And then at the bottom, those are steel bolts.
Let's get back to the hub a little bit. DID rims, standard DID rims, or was that something that Yamaha had to deal with? Yamaha had to deal with DID, or were they pretty much production rims?
Yeah, well, I don't think they were production, but I know there's a guy, and I know why this question's coming up, and he was building a replica of this, and I told him use 1G8 for the back, and I forget what the front is, and that would be for what he's doing. It's that'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, but another noteworthy point that no one will see: look at the kickstart knuckle, the kickstart shaft.
Yes.
You'll see the brake pedal and the kickstart lever are on the same shaft.
Oh yeah, look at that. It's behind it.
It's behind it. And and that brake pedal has a bronze bushing pressed into it. And it rides. So that's a real unique kickstart shaft. The whole thing is just one off.
Oh yeah.
And that guy's having a hard time building this bike because there's so many different, you look at it and you go, well, it's just, just do this and that and you're there, but it's not.
No, it's not. No, it certainly isn't. We covered the fins and the radiators and some of the things like that. The other, I know what I wanted to ask you, Terry, because you had some of these made at some point and I bought one or two. Did you have to have, well, obviously you did. You had these made again, didn't you? You had these reproduced, these fender extensions?
I did. I took it original. That's a completely original right there. That's not mine. Right. You could barely tell the difference. They were so good. And so I sent one of, I've got a couple spares of the originals, and I sent one out to a plastic place, and they made a mold. It cost a lot of money to do it, but I made a mold, and then to try and get my money back, I sold, I had a small batch made. And that now guys are emailing me all the time and, hey, could you make another batch? So I will as soon as I get some time. I'm just real busy right now.
Now, many of the Yamaha OW models from that era had that fender extension on it. Were they the same, 75, 76, maybe even early 77?
Oh, they went back to
Same
70, 73, had these.
70.
Yeah, all the way to 76, and then it changed.
Right. So that fender is that extension is pretty much the same style for all those years.
Identical. Same part.
The forks, Terry, 34, 36 millimeter?
I think they're 36s. They're thinner than, when you look at them, everyone goes, oh, look how thin the forks are. But everything is relative. You can't, it's like antique cars, you don't compare it to a 1,000 horsepower Ferrari, this 429 Boss Mustang, made 500 horsepower. That was massive in those days. So, yeah.
You obviously had to go through the bike when you got it.
I did.
And did you have the cases apart? Did you restore all that? How far did this all go?
I did not have the crankcases apart. I had the clutch cover off. It's all works on inside of that. I got a bunch of spares too for it, and I've got spare crankshafts. I still have another works. I sold you and the top end. That was a real one, and of course it's real. And but yeah, when I restored it, do you have the rolling chassis from the left side? There, look at that air box, how it has that air intake sticking toward the front top.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, that whole thing is so different than anything you've ever seen, and those little air filter covers are hand-pound aluminum. And that air box itself is hand-laid fiberglass, and it is so light. Even the nuts that screw those caps on are aluminum, and it's just a lot of effort went into this bike. But it is so unique, and I just can't stress enough how revolutionary this thing was when that thing came out. Oh.
Terry, we only have so much time, so many pictures here. We've got a lot of great ones, but you wrote a book, and of course, let's do it this way. Where else can people see more pictures of this bike?
Well, I used to have a website, mxworksbike.com.
Right.
And, I've just got so many things going on. You and I are both working our tails off trying to open this museum. We're trying to get help, and we're trying to get sponsorships. By the way, something might be breaking pretty big on that, as you well know.
Yes.
And a couple things actually that are game changers. But anyway, I'm just trying to get this going, and I just couldn't maintain that thing anymore. I got it. Yeah.
But it's still there, and but there was the softcover book that you wrote too.
Yeah.
And what was the name of that book? Because I have a couple of copies of it.
I was looking at it last night actually to prepare for this.
There it is.
There it is.
Legendary Motocross Bikes.
Yeah, and this book that is so accurate. In fact, every single rider, I interviewed them for their bikes, and if you can get a copy, I mean, they go for a lot of money now. I got in a fight with the publishing company. They were also doing, when I did this one, they were doing a book with Bob Hannah, about Bob Hannah, and they wanted him and his wife Terry to screen it and make sure, and Bob wanted it to be accurate, just as I do. Him and I are a lot alike that way. And the guy was running wild with the stories in there and everything. And Hannah, no, and all this. Well, then the publishing company got involved in it. And they asked me to pick a side, and I sided with Bob. And so they threw me out of there. Not that so what, right? They threw me out, and they only did like, I don't know, several thousand of these books, and they stopped publishing it. I should probably contact them again and try and buy the plates, because the book is so good.
One of the things that we sometimes see with different factory bikes is that a rider will put his personal touch on it, maybe in some way, seat foam, how things go. Bob took an unusual kind of approach here with the levers and perches. They're mismatched. So if anybody ever looked at the bike, they might say, well, why is this like this? Why is there a Magura on the right side with a dog lever and what appears to be a works perch on the left? Why is that?
Well, that's exactly how Bob wrote it. Identical. Tires, everything. What was real popular back, the dog leg levers came out in 74, I think. And one of the things that Magura dog leg levers do is give you more leverage. And so by putting that one on the front, it gave you more braking power if you pulled it. And so a lot of riders, DeCoster, a lot of guys did it.
Yeah, and I don't know if I have a better picture of it than this. I know I took one when I was out there at one of your fundraisers, but yeah, I guess this is the only place you could kind of see it. If you look at the brake actuator on the bottom, on the backing plate, it's steel.
Yes, it is. For less flex.
Yeah.
Bob is really big into front brakes.
That's where they say what, like 75% of your stopping power is?
Yeah, well, that's what they say, but he lived it. You know, we all, oh yeah, I use the front. But everything was the front brake. You couldn't give him enough front brake.
Yeah.
Even when it was discs.
Well, let's get back to, if we can, Terry, because we've talked a lot about this bike. And I mean, if I've missed something in my questions, please just jump in there and add to it any way you like. But if you'd like, we could do that, or we can move on for a second. Today is Wednesday, the 10th of December. Just yesterday, on the 9th, you and I did have a phone conversation, and it looks like, and we've been talking about the IMM loosely for 2 years, a little tighter 18 months. The last year, there's been a lot of chatter about it, and we do get some people that are genuinely interested. They're parts of big corporations. They're not really decision makers, and they don't, for lack of a better word, have access to the people that do make that decision. We were on the phone together yesterday, and we do have someone now, and it's not a manufacturer, but they have a lot of interest. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have a company that's in the industry. They are $1 billion company. The decision makers there, I was told, were real enthusiasts, and they want to be involved in this. And so we're sending them our paperwork, and you know, it's something really promising. You see, that's the thing with the industry now. I remember Keith McCarty. He's also a really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And he told me, he says, you know, because Keith helped me get the bikes from McGrath and you know, Chad Reed and those guys. So we have all kinds of bikes. But the one thing that's changed for the worst, and this goes through all of corporate America, all these guys now are these beta male guys that are afraid to make a decision.
Yep.
They're just worried about keeping their job. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to take a chance. I lived my whole life taking Uh, and I thought that if somebody amassed I can't even believe how much I've gotten, but I thought if somebody amassed this stuff, guys would be beating the door down to help out and to see this thing happen. And I was 180 degrees wrong. There's more slander, there's more jealousy, there's more this and that with it's incredible and fine. Yeah. I don't mind. But the corporate guys, the guys that are kind of put in charge and all that, Keith told me, he goes, they're nothing but bean counters. They don't even know who Bob Hannah is. They don't even know who Jeremy McGrath is now. Yeah. And this comes right from Keith McCarty, and he doesn't work there anymore, but he still lives there and, in Orange, and he talks to everybody. And that's what he told me. He said, it's just a different world right now and nobody cares, and all these kids these days are on their phone. Yeah. The whole industry is falling on its own weight right now. They don't sell near the bikes they used to back when this OW27, they sold over 1 million motorcycles globally back then. I heard 55,000 in the US this last year, and then someone said, no, it's more like 80. Okay, so it's 80. Right. Let's round it up to 100.
Still nothing.
It's down 90%. And everyone's on their phone. So things are changing. And if somebody doesn't do this, if we don't do it now,
it's never going to get
they'll never get. I'll sell half of it. I'll build a building on my own property. The donors can have access it. All the other guys, good
Terry,
luck.
Personally, I've often wondered why you didn't do that. I've been to your house. You've got a beautiful, acres over there. You could put up a magnificent building and, and really enjoy it. And as you say, donors or whatever could come and see it all. Why you need to get involved with 100,000 square foot buildings and, and all these people, it's beyond. But the reason why is the history of the sport needs to be out there. And if we don't keep trying, it's never going to get done.
That's the reason.
And God forbid the Lord calls you home. What's your wife going to do? What's Cindy going to do? She's going to sell the bikes. That's understandable. Or you're going to start to sell them off. And they're going to be in bits and pieces all over the place. And nobody's ever going to know the truth behind the whole thing. From the goggles to the boots to the bikes and the tanks and the tires and the hubs, nobody's ever going to know. And the trophies are staggering.
Yeah.
Staggering. And what worries me, Terry, even more than the parts is, I don't know, you probably have pictures, but you need to mark what those trophies are, who they were from. I'm sure you have a photo catalog. Because the ones that you have from, oh my God, who was the father, the grandfather, and the son all raised
Les Archer.
Les Archer.
It's crazy.
You got 3 generations of Isle of Man trophies.
It's like looking at Babe Ruth's bat, and it's unbelievable. It really is. We have, like I said, when this thing gets done, it will. When we get done with this, it will be the Smithsonian equivalent for a motorsports museum. And it will have more content than any other motorsports museum in any category in the entire world. 100%. Yeah. And here we are, and I just learned, I think I joked about this one, but they just opened the Teapot Museum somewhere in Ohio or Kentucky, and we've got this rich sport. And everyone's, you're just trying, I get guys, I spent around 20 million, let's say, $20 million. I haven't added it all up, but I spent 20 million bucks of money that I risked my life for in that pit trading. And on this, thinking I was doing a noble thing. And I get guys thinking I'm trying to, we ask for donations or, we're the only museum that can't ask for a donation. Or here, buy our program. We'll put every penny to the moving costs or something, and they think I'm trying to steal their $20.
Please. I heard it, Terry. I have heard it from people that exact thing. raising money, raising funds. Why doesn't he do it himself? I don't want to even have the conversation anymore together with us in these videos because it always comes up, and it's a whole nother thing. Anyway, right. We have talked about one of my top favorite 5 bikes in the International Motocross Museum, which, by the way, if you do want to make a donation, go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org. All your donations and all your purchases are 100% tax deductible. The OW27 of Bob Hannah, 1976. My favorite bike, I think. Definitely the top 3. So anyway, not that that adds any value to it. Anything else, Terry, before we jump?
Yeah, speaking of if I kick the bucket or something, which I could. I'm a very sick person.
You're not that sick. Come on.
Heart failure. Yeah, I'm real close to needing a heart transplant. But anyway, I have a little running thing with Bob Hannah that if I die, that my wife will give him that OW27. So when I go out of the house, I gotta watch my back.
Well, may he not receive it for a very, very long time. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Terry, thank you for joining me again. We'll come back next time with either another Yamaha or I still want to get down to that 72 RH Suzuki of Joel Robert's because I know how attached you are to that bike and what a great friend Joel was to you.
Yeah, sure was.
So, but that's it for tonight with Terry Good, Vintage Motocross Q&A. And we'll be back next week with another show. Terry, thanks again, buddy.
No problem, Joe. Have a good day. See ya.
Terry Good, the International Motocross Museum. Fun talking to Terry about that bike and hearing his opinion on some things. And just exciting times, that's for sure. We'll be right back after this message.
Motocross struck America, coming from Europe like a lightning bolt, striking the hearts and minds of people all across the country and the world. Battles of intense racing and cutting rivalries with loyalty to brands and heroes intensified as years of blood, sweat, and dirt flew through the minds of those memories of champions as they wrestled their machines through almost impossible tracks. But where are those past champions? And where are their bikes? Terry Good, an ex-pro motocross racer, has made it his life mission to honor these heroes and the bikes they rode to stardom. We raced, we rode, we lived and breathed motocross. Go back in time and relive those moments, now preserved for the first time ever in the world's first museum dedicated to the history of motocross. Our new building is in the gate. Help us get a great start and you can be part of history. Go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and become a part of our team.
The International Motocross Museum is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. So if you make a donation or you buy anything from the International Motocross Museum, it's 100% tax deductible. All right, I'm going to give you some announcements, and then we're going to be wrapping up the show. The announcements, well, those are brought to you by the International Motocross Museum as well. We've got a big event coming up, and it happens in January. I'm looking forward to being there. I'll be there on Saturday night, January 10th, for the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast Regional Awards Banquet. There's a buffet. All your friends are going to be there from the East Coast as prizes. The celebrity speaker is Tommy Croft. Tommy got some great stories. One of the only factory Hodaka riders at that time. So if you want to attend that, tickets are going quick. Be sure to get a hold of Dave Kuslets, or you can get a hold of Bill Naselrod as well. Okay. What else we got happening down there? And it's not down there actually. The announcements are down on my list. The Potomac Vintage Riders 2026 annual swap meet and bike show happens the day after the banquet. It is on Sunday, January 11th. That is on the York Fairgrounds from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. I don't know if there are any spots left. Get a hold of Bill Nazelrod or Mike Slate. Find out. Get your space reserved. I'll be there. Susie will be with me. I think we're going to have some shirts for sale. And it's going to be a great time. Really, really looking forward to that. We got the MX schedule out for Missouri Vintage Motocross. And they've got all their events posted here. They start racing, spring's a little early compared to the Northeast, March 28th and 29th at Possum Hollow. And the series runs all the way through October 17th and 18th of that fall, okay? So if you're a Midwest guy or a Missouri Vintage Rider guy, the announcement is out for all the events that are coming up, okay? I think I got one more going on here. Oh, yeah, this is the Motocross the States. Motocross the States. That happens February 20th and 21st. That is round 5 of the SSMX. The Sun Sports. Is that it, Sun Sports? Look, it's down there in Waldo, Florida, okay? And if you want to race vintage and you want to race the Motocross the States, well, this is it. The 12th annual event. They've got a class for just about everybody, including mini bikes, 4-strokes, 3-wheel pro, 60 plus. They've got something for everybody down there at Waldo and the Motocross the States, okay? That wraps it up for Vintage Motocross Q&A. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier on the show, Motion Pro, after a long run, will not be a sponsor of ours in the new year, but we do need sponsors to keep the show running. $250 a month. We still reach a lot of people, and I'm going to be doing a new run to show people just how many viewers we get. I mean, tonight we had a huge crowd, over 100, and it's usually not that much on a first viewing, on a live viewing. As time goes on, people share it over the next few days, but to have 90, 100 people live on a show, that's really, really, really big. And I account that for Terry Good being on and talking about some of the coolest bikes in the world. In the meantime, that's it for Vintage Motocross Q&A. I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Keep sharing the show. Please support our sponsors. And thanks again for all you do for us here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. Jeff Kokoski, I'm thinking of you, brother. Hang in there. We'll see you soon.